Welcome to part 5 of 100 Questions to Ask an Atheist. Now, you'd think that for a website specifically labeled 100 Questions to Ask an Atheist, there would actually be 100 questions, right? But considering our erstwhile apologist here doesn't have the slightest clue about the English language, science, morality, or pretty much anything else, counting probably wouldn't be high on his list of accomplishments either, and thus he doesn't actually have 100 questions on his list of 100 questions. Surprising, right? Therefore, I'm going to finish off the last couple of questions he actually asks, and then I'm going to address some of the other things he had to say. So let's get started. Number 41. Logic and mathematics are abstract principles that have been discovered rather than invented. We cannot do science, communicate, or navigate this world without them. They appear to stand outside of nature to describe and measure it. As Albert Einstein said, the most incomprehensible thing about the world is that it is comprehensible. So what? Mathematics is a language that describes the interaction of reality. That we made up that language, just like we made up all other languages, doesn't change the fact that it works. But getting to the Einstein quote, he was saying that it's amazing that for something as complex as the world, man can understand it. He marveled at our ability to discover the inner workings of the universe, not that the universe could be understood. Context matters, guy. 42. What is the source of math and logic? The existence of this remarkably fine-tuned universe aside, how is it that we have these languages of reality to so eloquently describe and interact with it? Well, the universe is anything but fine-tuned if you mean for life. The overwhelming majority of the universe is unsuitable for humanity to live in, and even large portions of our own planet are inhospitable without modern technology. Again, and I think I pointed this out previously, these languages are descriptive, not proscriptive. They describe what we see in reality. They do not force reality to operate according to our laws. The source of math and logic is experience, and it's a continual process that is refined over time. On to number 43. For more than 50 years, scientists from the SETI program have been using radio telescopes to send out radio signals across the universe, hoping to receive radio transmissions back. If these scientists ever received a radio signal with a pattern as simple as the musical notes from the children's song Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, How I Wonder What You Are, they would be unashamed, unabashedly, without fear or reservation, proudly announce to the world that they had positively identified intelligent life from outer space. Of course, this totally misunderstands how signs of advanced life would be detected. We're looking for radio transmissions, but radio travels very slowly in the cosmic scheme of things. Our own planet, which has been sending transmissions out into the cosmos for just over 100 years, and that means that our signals have reached, at best, just over 100 light years into the universe. Now, our galaxy is more than 10,000 light years across, and we're just one of billions of galaxies out there. Best estimates put the number of G-spectral type stars, of which our sun is one, within 100 light years of the Earth, about 512. That means that unless there is an advanced alien civilization in one of those 512 solar systems actively listening for radio signals, nobody in the entire universe would know we existed at all. Research, doofus. Try some. 44. Do you think this could be the missing link? And then he puts up a picture of Dawkins as a chicken. No, moron. No more than Ray Comfort's crocoduck. But only an idiot that has no clue what evolution actually is would make such an assertion anyhow. Besides the fact, there's no such thing as the missing link. There's lots and lots and lots of missing links because between everything that's born, every different species, there's a link. And unless you find 100% of every fossil ever in the history of the Earth, there are going to be some that are missing. Dumbass. Now, I never go through these things and pre-watch or count ahead. I want my reactions to be fresh and real, which is why I didn't know that his 100 questions would actually work out to 44 questions. I've been going by his actual numbered questions, though, which he starts renumbering in each section, but as I mentioned in the first video, he also tries to answer some of these questions, and in his answers, he does go through some other questions that I hadn't considered. So I'm going to go back and try to look at some of these additional questions and maybe revisit some of the questions I've already looked at. So here we go. So at the very beginning of this, the very first thing he says before he even starts asking questions is this: isn't science something that can be observed and repeated? Then within that framework, what evidence is there for macroevolution? I'm not talking about adaptation, small changes within a species, but for one species becoming another. If macroevolution is true, there should be thousands of intermediate life forms all around us. Can you show me just one example? Now, I've got no idea what macroevolution is, and as I said, there's no difference between micro and macroevolution. Those are terms that are not used in the scientific community, but the answer is yes. Every species shows direct morphological and genetic similarities to those that it is most closely related to. Humans and chimpanzees, for example, share more than 98% of our genes. We're less than 2% genetically different, and now that we're mapping genetics, we're finding links between species we had no idea were so closely connected. There are thousands of intermediate life forms. Every single fossil is an intermediate life form between a previous form and a later form. This is basic science, which he clearly doesn't understand. So we get back to the section on logic, where in question 4, he expands on that question where he thanked Ray Comfort. How much knowledge do you have? He asks several additional but equally stupid questions, starting with, what percentage of the universe have you explored? Personally, not a whole lot. As a species, though, we've explored a significant portion. But Christian apologists have explored no more, and statistically a whole lot less than scientists have. Yet they claim to know things that they can present no evidence of, while science has evidence for every claim that it makes. So, who's more reliable? Sure the hell isn't religion. Next he says, for someone to say that God does not exist, wouldn't they need to be omniscient? Well, that's true if you were actually making the claim that gods do not exist. But very, very few atheists ever say that, and for those that do, it's typically for those gods that are logically contradictory and simply cannot exist as stated. Instead, we say we have no reason to take the existence of God seriously because there's no objective evidence to support their existence. If you'd like to present such evidence for us to independently study, feel free, but until you can do so, all the religious are doing is presenting unsupported claims that we have no reason to take seriously. We're not saying you're wrong, we're saying we don't believe you. The following question is largely an extension of the last, and I already answered it, so. Then he goes on to say, since you cannot do that, doesn't that make you an agnostic rather than an atheist? No. An atheist is someone who doesn't believe in gods. I don't believe in gods, therefore I'm an atheist. And I made a video a while back on the difference between agnosticism and atheism, and I encourage you to go watch that. The link is in the description. And finally he says, so then, wouldn't you agree that there's no such thing as an atheist? Well, only if you have no idea what an atheist is, which is clearly the case here. I honestly think these people have made atheists into such a ridiculous boogeyman that they don't care if there are people out there who don't believe in their gods, so long as they aren't attaching the word atheist to it. Even if I did call myself an agnostic, that doesn't change the position that I take or the reasons why I take that position. I mean, what difference does it make what label I use when I disbelieve your claims for entirely rational and well-supported reasons? Fear of a word doesn't change the ridiculous nature of your beliefs. So I'm going to stop there this time. How anybody could fail so miserably, either at counting or at organization, is beyond me. Absolutely none of these questions that I've addressed so far have been at all worthwhile. The only thing they've made me think is how this person has enough functioning gray matter to operate a keyboard. If he'd used 1/10 of the effort he made to produce this website on actually doing research, not only would he not have bothered, he'd be an atheist. But that describes virtually all apologists. They spend more effort hiding from reality than they do finding out what reality is actually all about. They spend more time believing fantasy books are real than they do actually doing research about discovering the truth. Truth doesn't matter to them. Only feeling good about comforting lies does. And that, as I've said many times before, is nothing to be proud of.